Keep that applause going, everyone. Oh my gosh. So you just heard Kajay Kennedy, who you can see anytime this week on Broadway, in, a little show called Wicked. So give her a round of applause. She was earlier. And she was joined by the amazing Micah Elijah Caldwell, an Obie Award-winning pianist, vocalist, and multifaceted artist featured in the Pulitzer Prize-winning musical A Stranger Loop. And breaking news, he was just booked for the national tour of Shucked. So give them both a round of applause. Extraordinary performers. Before we begin, everyone needs to take a seat. There's a whole front row. There's some seats on the side. So I'm going to give you a moment to come forward because we need y'all to sit down. Fire codes, my preference. Thank you all. And thank you for being here. Happy Climate Week. You've made it to Thursday. I applaud you. Give yourselves a round of applause. I am Danielle Nierenberg. I'm president and co-founder of Food Tank with Bernie Pollock, who's, I think, in the back. He deserves a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. For those of you who don't know, Food Tank is a research and advocacy organization really devoted to highlighting stories of hope and success in food and agriculture systems. We do this with the aim to inspire, motivate, and ultimately activate positive transformation in how we produce and consume food. And I want to turn, it's a weird shift to go from these Broadway performers to like the stuff we got to dig into, but let me talk about why we are here. 2025 is on track to be in the top 3 warmest years on record, joining 2023 and 2024. In the last 3 years, we have also seen the most widespread and damaging droughts in recorded history. So the urgency continues to grow, but many of us see COP30, the climate change conference that's happening in Brazil in about a month and a half, as an opportunity. And we're really excited about what the efforts that are being made there. Many of you in this room are working towards a lot of solutions. And what we're so excited about is that food and agriculture systems are finally at the table at COP. It took several years, almost 30 years, but over the last several years, really food and agriculture systems have been on the table. The COP30 presidency has named transforming agriculture and food systems one of the 6 pillars in its action agenda. Give that a round of applause. It's really exciting. Brazil is also behind another important effort, the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, which was launched last year, giving us a chance to connect the dots between the cascading crises we face today. Biodiversity loss, the climate crisis, obviously, a public health crisis. So many things are happening. With this incredible focus on food, farming, and climate, we need to make sure that our political leaders don't waste this moment in time. It cannot be a COP of talk and just declarations. It must be a COP for action and implementation. And solutions like school meals, which we'll talk about today, give me so much hope. We need these win-win-wins to ensure that young people are nourished, farmers and ranchers are supported, and communities can thrive. Before we dive in, I want to thank our partners who have made today possible. A huge thanks to the Rockefeller Foundation, especially Sara Farley and Emily Copel. Thanks to our hosts at WNYC. Give them a round of applause. They've made everything flawless. A big thanks to our culinary partner, Great Performances. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful breakfast they put together. You'll get a chance to eat more at lunch and the reception. To make sure that we end on time, and we will, I promise you, the conversations today will be very fast-paced, very dynamic. If I have to cut a panel short or a speaker short, please forgive me later. We want to hear from as many of you as possible. And whether you're in the room or tuning in online, and thank you so much for tuning in online, you can use the hashtag ClimateWeekNYC to share moments throughout the day. You can also email me directly at danielle@foodtank.com, and we will try to get back to you in real time. And by we, I mean Bernie is checking my email. I'm now excited to introduce somebody who's become a good friend to me personally and to Food Tank, Sara Farley, the Vice President of the Food Initiative and the co-lead of the Big Bet on Regenerative School Meals. Give her a round of applause. Before we start, we have a really great video to play, so I'm going to cue that.
Não é legal quando a gente planta e dá certo? Nós colocamos humus de minhoca, mas o maior segredo é isso aqui. Tá vendo esse monte de madeirinha aqui, ó? Sim. Ó, olha como a terra tá embaixo.
Ah, bem úmida.
Devagarinho, essa matéria orgânica ela vai misturando com a terra e as vitaminas que tem nela vai tudo pra terra. Aí vai dar cenourona grandona? Vai. Bom dia! Bom dia! Vocês sabiam que tudo que é produzido aqui no Vale Verde vai lá para a escola? A verdurinha que vocês comem lá na escola, os legumes que vocês comem na escola, é produzido aqui.
Nós ensinamos as crianças a importância da agricultura orgânica, inclusive para a gente pensar as doenças do mundo contemporâneo, colesterol alto, pressão alta, coisas que nós não víamos antigamente. Nós sabemos que existe uma relação intrínseca entre a alimentação saudável e o que é o nosso corpo. Por isso que a alimentação orgânica é importante, por isso que a alimentação saudável é importante. Porque eu conecto isso tudo com a saúde física, emocional, psíquica, com todos os elementos cognitivos que esse ser humano tem. Uma criança que tem uma alimentação natural vai ficar menos doente. Portanto, ele vai precisar de menos hospital e menos médico. Então, a gente olha para o ser humano inteiro.
Such a good way to start off as hopeful. Before we begin, Sara, what is a big bet?
Happy to answer that question. I'm still like shaking from the electricity of those Broadway stars. I feel like the tagline for this morning is come for the Broadway, stay for the regenerative school meals. So thank you Food Tank for being so fearless about how to create a really dynamic and inclusive conversation, because no one will forget how this day began. But yes, big bets. Big bets are the new way the Rockefeller Foundation philanthropies, but in a lot of ways they're actually a really old idea. It was the first board meeting where John D. Rockefeller and one of the first board members, Frederick Gates, were in attendance, that they talked about the role of Rockefeller is to come in and take on the big challenges where either there's no existing institution to do it, or the size of the task is so large it needs a really significant endeavor. And so the big bet is just that. It's big. We're going to go bigger. We're going to go deeper. We're going to stay longer. We're going to leverage more partnerships. We're going to be more fastidious about measuring impact, learning quickly, pivoting when we learn that things don't work, and I hope making an even bigger impact by supporting more of the wonderful partners, many of whom are in this room today.
It's so exciting, and I'm glad Rockefeller is taking on regenerative school meals. Can you sort of connect the dots of what regenerative school meals do for communities and for the world?
Yeah. You know, the regenerative school meal is the first kind of food times climate big bet that the foundation has made. And the reason we think it's so essential is in one solution, it's tackling a whole host of the challenges you spoke to. And it's really important that we take this on because it's a contrast to what you could call a business as usual school lunch. So maybe I'll just juxtapose the two. So in a lot of places, a business as usual school lunch might look like one commodity. Often that might be polished, imported white rice. That's really, really low in nutrition. You've got a ton of greenhouse gas emissions associated with the carbon miles to import that rice. And the growth of rice often really exacerbates methane release, which is a super potent greenhouse gas. So then let's contrast that to a regenerative school meal. I mean, first, that's a meal that really starts with the farmers. The regenerative or agroecological transition is about building the climate resilience of those that would feed all of humanity. It's about building back soil health, biodiversity. It's about nutrition, and it's about place-based. It's about seeing that the foods that are relevant to a culture, that are grown in their backyard, are part of the plate for this essential meal, often the only meal a child might get in a day. So really, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a transition from a school meal that is an essential pillar for human development, for cognitive development, but often can be kind of weak on nutrition and problematic environmentally, to a source of growth, prosperity for farmers, nutrition, biodiversity, water, soil health. That's the transition we want to see. And what's super exciting about it is really the market potential of a school meal is significant, right? A farmer needs lots of market opportunities, but in many countries, as much as 60% of what a government spends on food is spent on school meals. So you've got government already paying for the food. So let's link that commitment to what are the commitments from often a Ministry of Agriculture, a Ministry of Environment, a Ministry of Finance. So all those objectives come into one beautiful package, this meal that can really do a lot.
Yeah, as a Gen Xer myself who grew up in the business as usual school meal, it's so exciting to see farmer-centered, market-oriented, really nutritious meals being, becoming the norm in so many places. So congratulations.
Yeah, and places like Brazil. I mean, Brazil has taught us so much because they're this idea of a regenerative school meal. That's really where we took our inspiration. That and actually some of the leaders we'll hear from today in the United States as well. But in Brazil, you've got these policies where it is mandated that school meals first look at the small family farmer. In fact, it's now 45% of school meals in Brazil need to come from that family farmer, and policy on the books to actually pay more to ensure that at least 30% more can be agroecologically sourced. So you can see that it's possible. If Brazil can do it, the United States can do it. South Korea is doing it. It can become really a global movement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just one final question. What are you most excited about today?
Oh my gosh, this is like a rock star 4-hour experience with this high bar set by our Broadway stars. But really, beginning, and I'm seeing some of them in the front row, as a mother, it's so awesome to have kids here that are part of our future, that are farmers and that are poets. We're going to hear from Sloane Spiegel, who's going to share her voice with us and really bring poetry and sort of the why for regenerative school meals in a really intimate way, because we're talking about children. So for everybody under 18 who's in this room, I'm super excited about you. Then I'm really excited about Dr. Jen Burney. She and her team did some research that we commissioned for the first signature convening on regenerative school meals that was held in Addis on the margins of the UN Food System Summit over the summer. And she and her team of climate modelers and physicists in this kind of extraordinary group are really helping model out what is the actual cost and how vulnerable are business as usual school meals given climate volatility. And her work is scary, but it's also empowering because it really gives, I think, a crisp motive, an undeniable motive to ministers of finance, ag, and others as to why we have to take this on. Then I'm super excited about Gerardo Martinez and the awesome team at Wild Kid Acres. I feel like listening to farmers, really hearing what is making this transition hard for you? What are your asks? What do we need to be doing better? He always rocks that awesome cowboy hat, so he's fun to watch. It's just every time you interact with Gerardo. And then also we've got these voices of folks that have a lot of years connecting regenerative farmers and farmers that are doing values-based agriculture into procurement systems. One of those is Isabel. She leads Solid Africa in Rwanda. Her outfit is extraordinary. And not only is she kind of doing this public procurement with Regen Foods for schools, but also for hospitals, for other institutions. And her, corollary right here in New York City in the mayor's office is Kate McKenzie, who's really been kind of lighting a path for those municipalities in the United States and elsewhere as how to do this. So just so many people. It's going to be an amazing work. It's going to be a feast. And you, Danny, I think every time you put people in this little hot seat, you always bring out nuance and subtleties that make the conversation so much more rich. So I'm going to be listening to you too.
Thank you so much. Please give Sara Farley a round of applause. Thank you.